Prince Philip, huh? Age 99.
Yeah, 99. Dude,
Ni-
he looks so fucking decrepit. Like
yeah.
like he looked like so sunken in his eyes. Like he got like the receding like gums on his teeth, dude.
Yeah. That.
It's like he's like to maintain his life. He sucked the soul out of kids, bro. It's like a necromancer. He looked like a necromancer.
He does.
And I don't know. Like I'm not surprised about him kicking the bucket,
Mm.
but damn, I don't know. I didn't expect it to happen like that quick. I reckon. Well, not quick, but like it took 99 years. But like, yeah,
Yeah, that's so quick.
still, fuck. I don't know. He looks so nasty right before he died.
I need
I
to.
think he should have died like a couple of years ago. Back when it's still
Whoa.
like functional.
Okay. Yeah.
Wouldn't you want to like? Because it looked like he's nothing but suffering. Wasn't he also racist?
Was he
Like he
racist? I
I
mean,
feel like there's moments in time where he just said some really like, you know, some shit like fucking boomers would say.
I feel like once you get to a certain age, you just stop giving a shit because one, you're too tired to even care at that point.
True.
And two, it's just like, what's the point of caring? Like, I'm gonna die anyway.
Any day now, any day now. So I might as well just drop it. Are you a woman? Like something
Oh
like
my,
that.
dude!
I think that's what he said to someone, and it's just ooh.
I wouldn't even be, dude. Prince Philip, man, he looks like you said, like he looks like a necromancer. He has huge shadows surrounding his eyes.
Yeah.
And if you look
yeah.
at Queen Elizabeth, okay, maybe it's the makeup, I don't know, but she looks significantly brighter, and I mean that in a literal sense. Like she looks brighter than Prince Philip does.
Dude, like she looks like she's in her like 80s.
Prince Philip genuinely looks like he lived in the shadow of Queen Elizabeth, dude. It's crazy.
Old mate is just like there's plenty of photos with his like eyes being like so like sunken in,
Yeah.
and then you just like look at it and then you're just like, how is this guy still alive for this long? Like the royal family probably has like some secret technology, some rejuvenating techniques, bro, to keep the monarchs alive. They just probably ran out of like virgins to sacrifice to Prince Philip. That's why he keeled over and died.
They're just running a religious cult behind the scenes, turns out, and then it's just like they do a raid of like the fucking castle for some reason or wherever the fuck they live. I don't know where they live.
I think it's a Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, the fucking Palace of Buckings or whatever. And
Okay.
you just like they raid the palace, and then it's just like a cult site. There's fucking pentagrams everywhere. There's blood, and it's like, what happened here? You know, Prince Philip. he's an old chap, but he's a vampire. Turns out. God damn.
No, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly.
No,
I
not at
wouldn't be
all.
surprised.
Not at
Fuck.
all, dude. But hey, you know what? One thing's for sure, he was fucking consistent as a guy, as a man who lived until his amazing year of 99 years old, dude. He was a consistent man. He.
Good segue.
Kind of want to die now, dude. I'll be honest.
Consistency. What does it mean, Benjo?
Well, it means if you can live until the age of 99 and still be racist, that's consistency, dude.
Old habits die hard,
Yeah,
but
dude.
he died harder.
What?
Doesn't make sense.
Old men die hard.
Isn't that true?
I don't
Isn't
know.
that-
I don't think it is.
Isn't that true? 'Cause, well, like if he was like on his face and he died, then all the blood would flow to like this side of the body, so they'd give him like an erection.
Well, why don't we ask
Take that what you will.
Well, we can ask the coroner and see what he knows.
Sir, did Prince Philip have an erection when he was dead?
Why do you want to know
He
this?
was rather stiff, indeed. Yes. No, because like when you die, like your body pulls on whatever side you're laying, so like that's why you're like bruising. But would it? I don't think I need to know this.
Yeah, I don't think anyone does, to be honest.
Did Prince Philip die hard?
Oh my god.
The movie.
Die Hard, but it's about Prince Philip dying hard, dude. Jesus Christ.
Okay. Okay. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Okay. What a great start.
It's amazing.
Okay. Yeah. Consistency. What do we know about being consistent, Benjo?
Well, we can ask Prince. Anyway, dude, being consistent. Oh man, I don't know too much about being consistent, dude. Being consistent is a whole thing. I'll be honest. Like, because there are just so many times that you want to do something different than what you're currently doing because of so many reasons. Whether it's because like, oh, it's more interesting, or like, oh, everyone else is doing it, or like, like it's fun to do, or whatever the fuck, whatever reason it is. It's difficult to be consistent. Like, let's take working out for example. Like, dude, there are so many reasons why people can go off track when it comes to fitness. Food tastes good. That's just a fact. Not working out is easier. Just staying at home, lying on your bed, it's just so much easier. And like, being consistent is, I think for the most part, it is remembering why you started something in the first place, and like taking that with you on that journey, so to speak, because being consistent is such a fucking hard thing to do, in my opinion. But I know, like, for some other people, being consistent is just like literally the same as breathing, and I'm just like, bruh, how do you do that? So I don't know. Like, I know, like, some people, some of my friends at least, like, it's just really difficult for them to stay consistent in whatever they're doing. Even when it comes to playing games, for some people, even for me, like when I play video games, dude, being consistent there, like I start a video game and I stop playing right away just because it's just like, I don't want to fucking, I don't want to do it, whatever. It's like, well, maybe that's a whole other issue entirely, but anyway, yeah. What are your experiences with being fucking consistent, dude?
I've sort of noticed that being consistent, right? Having a certain like order to do things in your day-to-day life gives you like a structure. And when you continuously do that structure, in a lot of cases you tend to be satisfied, mainly because you're doing the exact same thing on a daily basis, right? So like it's habitual at that point. Now there's caveats to this, right? Like you have to understand, if you're doing bad things, then that kind of consistency is, bad. Well, and like the whole notion of bad is really subjective, but there's some things that we can consider not good for you, and if you're consistent with those, then you're just building the habit of doing it, which isn't something you necessarily want. Yeah. But at the same time, if you're consistent in doing good things, then vice versa. However, not being consistent, I found for myself, sort of makes me feel, unsatisfied with the day, really. It's felt like I've wasted a day. Because, like, if you're not completing things that you think have a significance to yourself or to your goals, then in most cases you're gonna feel like you've not really done something that day, right? Yeah. And it's even worse if that happens over like a span of multiple days. Like if you're being consistent with being inconsistent, right? Then to me, or like from my experience, I have a harder time to sleep, because like I feel I've just survived an entire day without doing something productive for myself.
Yeah.
And it's like, why should I be going to sleep? I done nothing. Like I've just been surviving, right? And I think when it comes to like the human brain, when it wants you to, it makes you do things that it knows are safe, because that's the whole thing that it wants you to do, is survive and procreate.
Right.
Now you could argue there's more, but if we're going by the most basal and natural way of like observing our brain and our instincts. Like that's what it really wants you to do is survive and have kids.
Yeah.
Now having kids is out of the question right now, but it's more of surviving. And if you're being inconsistent and not doing anything, your brain is gonna lead that to like the understanding of survival, but at the same time you're not getting the emotional satisfaction or physical satisfaction of doing challenging tasks which reward your happiness or give you dopamine.
Yeah.
And then in that kind of sense, your brain sort of goes like mush. So like it's doing the exact same thing of like not having some sort of order or structure and not getting challenged. So then you just like stagnate in a sense. And well, I could, there are some readings on this. I wish I could remember them better, but
please share.
I don't.
When this episode's done, please share if you can remember.
Yeah. But yeah, like it's the matter of fact of like if you look at professional athletes like Michael Phelps, right? On a day-to-day basis, does the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And even like I think there's an Under Armour ad, right, where it showed Michael Phelps doing the exact same thing on a day-to-day basis, like a more artistic fashion, I suppose. And like the whole point of that advertisement was to advertise consistency in addition to Under Armour, right? But you're looking at its advertising, it was like the pushing of consistency because that's what truly matters, is being consistent for yourself. Because then you're holding yourself accountable to certain things and certain things you want to do. For example, if you want to do video editing, if you are consistently doing video editing on a day-to-day basis, your skills get better, right? And then you feel better about yourself, right? Yeah. But if you do video editing inconsistently, like one day, and then the next day you don't do it, and the next day you do a little bit, but the next day you don't touch it for the next 4 or 5 days, you feel bad because you think like, oh, I could be doing so much better. I could be trying a lot harder. Why am I not doing this? I want to be doing like I want to like reach a peak version of myself and I'm like I can totally do this, right? You think you can do it, and you actually can, but it's your lack of consistency which prevent you from reaching that level of which you can actually achieve. And it's genuinely something that's detrimental for you because it really doesn't let you reach the peak form of your existence because you're not letting yourself build those habits to reach that sense of like level,
Yeah.
And it's normally impossible to ask for everyone to be like 100% consistent, because like having that kind of discipline and that kind of like mentality to do the exact same thing on a daily basis, in addition to doing something novel every now and then just so you can like have a little bit of fun in life, it's something else.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can expect an average person like us, like you can't expect us to do the exact same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
On a daily basis. Like as much as you love fitness and as much as I love fitness, some days I just don't want to work out.
Yeah, dude.
Like I'm just like, I just want to lay in bed and just exist.
But
right?
You give a good point though. It's like there is like most things in life, right? Moderation, right? If you're too consistent, there's got to be something wrong with that, right? Because it's like, well, but even then, like if you are consistently inconsistent, would that be a good thing? And in what context would that be a good thing? If you get what I'm saying?
True.
Right? Like, what's it called? Fitness, for example. Of course, we always refer back to fitness because we're a bit of fitness addicts. Well, addicts. I say addicts, loose term. Anyway, like if you have days where you just slack off, eat whatever the fuck, like cheat days, if you will. And if you have days where you work out hard and stuff like that, where you're consistently inconsistent, or if, there are days where you need to auto-regulate when you work out, meaning like, let's say you want to hit a certain number at the gym, let's say you want to hit some big lifts, but you can't really do that because you're not feeling at your tip-top shape, and you need to auto-regulate. That can be seen as inconsistency, but at the same time, it's also better for your health. So in that context, when you're consistently inconsistent in that kind of way, it actually is more beneficial to you because, like, more often than not, consistency has such a good wrap around it. Like, oh, if you're just consistent on one thing, you're going to achieve, like, super good things in life. But what if you're always doing the same thing over and over again? Is that good? Because people also tell you at the same time, like, hey, you should do something you're uncomfortable with. You need to do something that takes you out of your comfort zone. You should do that. But then at the same time, like under the same breath, people will also say, hey, you need to be consistent. You need to keep on doing this thing. It's like, okay, fucking, what do I do? Like, do you want me to be consistent or do you want me to try new things? I think, like, obviously, like, it's just so, it's an interesting topic, though, to think about. Like, being consistent is good, but, like, I think there needs to be inconsistencies with your consistency to fucking get anywhere or like to develop as a person even. You know,
Definitely. And yeah, like now that you said that, it does make me realize that there are a lot more nuances to being consistent. Like when it comes to being consistent, right? Obviously something that you have to consider for yourself is like if you're going to be doing the exact same events over and over again, when are you going to have time to do something novel, for example, something new, something different, something that challenges your comfort zone if you're going to have a completely packed out schedule? And I do think that there are some things that should remain consistent, like things that help you for your health, both physical and mental, and also help you challenge yourself as well. And like I do think that you should have some senses of like something challenging or something big that you have to accomplish on a day-to-day basis so you feel like you've done something with that day, whether it's something like by big I mean something either big for you, like something that you think is big and something worthwhile, right? But at the same time there should always be time for something novel or something interesting, something new, something uncomfortable, because those challenges or those aspects help you grow more as a person because you're having your little bubble get challenged. And like the good point you set up, like if you're always consistent, you're not going to have like that kind of new experience because you're doing the exact same thing over and over again. And then like maybe if you do like dancing for the first time and you're like, oh, I'm so uncomfortable with dancing, and then you start getting more consistent with dancing, or you do that event more often that you integrate into your daily schedule just because like you think it's like something you like, and in a sense you've gotten challenged and becoming consistent with it. But I think at some point you might look to do something new, right? And I think that's a lot when it comes to like the mentality for people is like once we do something over and over again, the amount of happiness we have on it sort of just like it reaches a neutral standpoint because you continuously do the exact same thing over and over again, so it's not going to be that new. But there are going to be things like the idea of progression in your activities. So take it up a level in your like fitness, take it up a level in your study, take it up a level in your work, take it up a level in your like pastime or something to just get better at it. And then in that sense it also challenges you, but it's also allowing you to stay consistent because you're still doing the exact same thing in the same field, just at a harder level. And I think it's all about the notion of just getting challenged because it helps you grow. And one thing also, it helps you grow and it also helps you feel accomplished with the day. Because I think with like being consistent, it's the sense of accomplishment because you were able to do all these things in that day. You're like, yeah, that was a pretty well spent day because I was like went for a run, read a book for like an hour, ate healthy, socialized, and did this, that, and then like and then I spent time for myself and like meditated, and I'm like, wow, I feel like I've spent my day quite well. And I think that's a sort of thing that we need to. Well, I think that a lot of people need to start integrating a lot more. It's just being consistent with some things that they find that are genuinely good for them and challenge them in a sense, because that's what I sort of figured out for myself is because like if you don't challenge yourself or stay consistent here for things that you think are good for you, you'll just like be unsatisfied with it. And yeah, it's just me using my anecdotal evidence to support my reasoning. But I think there's are other things, and like a lot of self-help books are telling you to be consistent and doing things that you enjoy, but also have to do things that are challenging. Like like for example, I think there's this one book called Swallow a Frog, right? And literally the whole point of it is for you to swallow a frog every morning, which means get the biggest thing out of your day done as soon as you wake up. And in that sense, even if it's like different things every day, but if you're doing the biggest thing every day. It's being consistent in how you're approaching the day.
Yeah.
Right? So it doesn't even have to be necessarily activities, but also how like, the approach towards the day. So for example, today, if I finished or did most of the work on my project, and then tomorrow I finished my project as soon as I woke up, then the rest of the day is just all the menial things and other things that I just have to do. And in a sense, it's still me. It's consistency in two forms. One, the approach, and one, the activities. So I do think that there's a variety of forms of consistency in which people can actually approach the lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like you're not strictly limited to one form or one approach, but you're given a plethora to pick from.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think these should be applied more.
Absolutely, I 100% agree. You bring up good points. I like the swallowing the frog shit. I think that's a great way of putting things into perspective, on a daily basis.
I think that's a book. Yeah.
Oh, that's the name of the book. I thought it was something from the book.
It's
who's the author? Fucking Mr. Swallow Frog, dude.
Fuck. Let me see if I can. Yeah. Let me see if I can find it.
Okay. What's it called? Yeah, like you said, swallowing the frog, get the biggest thing out of the day, and continue on with the other stuff that you have to do. I think that's a great thing to follow by. But that also poses an interesting question of when do you get that opportunity to be consistent? Because with school, high school, college, middle school, whatever the fuck, you are given so many opportunities to be consistent, right? Because people are handing you work, people are handing you a schedule, people are handing you events to go to, people are handing you hangouts, friends even, not just teachers. I mean, I don't know what teacher would invite you to a hangout, I'll be honest, but hey, fucking come join us, dude. We're gonna grade your assessments. Come here. But it's there are, I feel like, certain situations where consistency is more obvious than others, and this is definitely something for a lot of concepts out there other than just consistency, right? There's when do you get the opportunity to be successful? When do you get the opportunity to do something good? If the opportunity presents itself, then you'll be able to do it. But of course, you're always given the option to do it or not. And whether doing it or not, whether that is a good or bad thing, that is to be that's to be seen later on down the line. If you weren't consistent during this period in university, and let's say you're going into the other half of that period, obviously you're going to suffer. You have to do more work. There's a lot more you have to do. You have to cram and all that jazz, all that sick shit. And, it's not a good time. But, I guess that also brings me to another question of, to what point would inconsistency actually be good for you? Because let's say you're trying to figure things out. Let's say you're not in college. Let's say you're just in your room. Let's say you don't know what you're doing with your fucking life, and you don't really have any direction. No one's handing you work. Sure, your family's there to support you, but how are they going to support you? You don't even know how you're going to support yourself. That poses the question of what parts of my life can I get consistent, and what other parts can I try to get consistent? Because it's obviously you're not going to be able to get all parts of your life consistent. There's going to be a lot of inconsistencies because you don't know what you're fucking doing. Is that my question there is that inconsistency to that extent, is that good for that person in that situation? Because it's obviously very difficult to be consistent in that situation. I'm just putting the question out there. You don't have to answer it, but it would be interesting to see what you would have to say, what other people would have to say. With that said, what do you have to say about that? What do you think? What do you think about?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I do think, right, there are some fundamentals that should be consistent regardless, right? I think, these are my personal opinion, and these are things that I've seen from self-help, self-help videos, self-help books, in addition to just what my anecdotal experiences have sort of conglomerated together. And I'm just okay, this is what I think are very good fundamentals that people should just strike down. One, they should make a consistent. Well, it should be like consistent for someone to just read. As much as a fucking nerd as I sound, reading on a daily basis for like an hour, like it just start off with fucking 10 minutes, bro, and then just start pumping it up to like 30, and then to an hour. And if you're really into it, start reading for 2 hours. Reading is a great gateway for you to figure out things that you want to do. If you're reading in subjects that you're interested in, if you're reading in subjects that you maybe want to look at to do in for college, if you're reading for subjects for pleasure, if you're reading for subjects for like new skills, there's so much you could do for reading. And I'm heavily stressing out nonfiction reading, mainly because there's a lot more applicability, but you can also read for leisure. I'm just stressing out read. Okay. Just fucking read. It's a shame that people don't read.
This is a command. Fucking read.
It's a command. It's genuinely a command because I dogged on reading and then once I started reading again, because I went through phases of my life where I read and I didn't read, and now I'm reading again, and I'm really grateful because now I'm reading books that actually have an impact on my life.
I've started reading The Witcher. I'm fucking enjoying that shit. Like more so than the series. Yeah.
Like even like nonfiction, it's still good because you're still reading something, right? It's new. It's adding new words to your vocabulary, helping you speak better, definitely, and also can help you read faster, which is definitely a good skill.
True. Yeah.
And it helps you also like imagine things if it's nonfiction. But if it's fiction, but if it's nonfiction, it also gives you things and helps you challenge your perspective while adding on to your understanding of the world, right? So there's nothing wrong with reading. And if you say you can't read, motherfuckers be spending 2 hours on TikTok. What the fuck you doing? Read a book. Spend 1 hour on TikTok and 1 hour reading. Deal with your internet addiction. Okay. All right, that's a whole different story. Deal with internet addiction.
Jesus Christ.
Can't speak on that one. That's for sure. But yeah. Second thing I think that people should be doing, number 2. Well, it's like a top 10 list right here.
Watch Mojo, top 10 list right now. Let's
Watch
go.
Mojo, top 10 things that you should be doing in your life to have it more successful.
Yeah.
One thing I do think people should be doing a lot more is exercising in various capacities, any fucking capacity. As long as you're getting the blood flowing, the heart pumping, right? That's good, right? If you have to look at fucking 10-minute workouts of Chloe Ting, then just do that, but then just start that, and then just like go up. Start climbing up the ladder.
She's at the bottom. Fucking get out of there, dude.
Go up, bro. There's so many more things you could do. All right, just start getting your health on track. There's a correlation between body health and mental health, right? If your body's shit, your brain's gonna be shit as well. Don't test me on this, bro. Don't test me on this. If you feel healthy, your brain's gonna fucking feel healthy. They're interconnected, right? You can't remove one from another.
Yeah, I mean, if you do, you're fucking.
And it also, it also helps with self-esteem issues, which might just fucking solve that thing there. It'll transfer to something else.
That is a fact.
Instead of being like body image, it'll be like, I have crippling social anxiety.
Oh yeah.
So,
That's even better.
Now you just have to learn how to talk to people, so that's fine. That's fine. You've climbed up in the ladder now. Okay. So yeah, reading and then like working out. Also something that I think people should do, which I'm guilty of not doing because I don't know, it's hard, is meditating.
Interesting.
I think meditation is something very, very important. Mainly because, one, it gives you the clarity, well, depending on how you do it, right? If you're doing it to like de-stress or doing it to like start off your day, it gives you the clarity to see what goals you want to do in the day, right? It removes all the clutter, all the junk, because your brain is just a loop. It's just going to say the exact same thing over and over again. And once you sort of detract yourself from that loop, it helps you focus on your goals and might implement those goals into the loop cycle. So then you become more oriented towards those goals because they're constantly on your mind, right? In that sense, right? And also meditation does help with anxiety. It does help control all the talking, all the snaps in your brain when it's like rapid firing.
Yeah.
It's just something that you have to constantly practice and be consistent with. Because if you start off meditating, right, you're like, I'm going to meditate for 30 minutes. You're going to realize how hard it is
It's
to
fucking
sit down.
hard, dude.
It's hard
It's
to
hard.
sit down for 30 minutes and focus on your breathing without having a thought pop into your mind. But this is training for your brain to sit still, right?
Yeah.
And even like 5 minutes of meditation, I found to be difficult because my brain's just like popping in thoughts left and right, like boom, 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 boom. It's like the most obscure, randomest shit because it doesn't want to be bored. But it is the thing is you're training yourself not to be bored and not to have these kind of thoughts. You're just training to focus on breathing.
Yeah.
And being empty.
Yeah.
And that's hard for me to like explain unless you've had that kind of moment in which you're like in like Zen where time will just flow by.
Yeah.
Like you can have people meditating for hours. And to them it felt like nothing because their brain wasn't focused on something. So yeah, I really, really, really recommend for people like, you know, not having any consistency in their life to just start having to like spend an hour reading, spend an hour working out, spend 5 minutes just attempting meditation, right? And these things can really, really, really help. And it's a shame that they're not advocated enough or as much as they used to be. Because like you have reading to help you, like you help you grow. It literally helps you grow. It literally gives you bigger brain. Fucking who doesn't want more wrinkles in their brain?
Yeah, hey,
right?
it also helps you grow physiologically. If you stand on 2 books, you'll be 2 books taller than you were beforehand. So, guys, come on, read. Let's go.
True. And then like working out, you're already like improving your body. Like you can improve how long you get to live.
Yeah.
Assuming you don't get like something that happens, right?
Yeah.
If you just live like an average life with like no severe disease, you get to like improve how long you live and your quality of life. And then like meditation, it really, really improves the mental state. It really gives you control of something that you should be in control of. It's weird because as much as you want to think that you're in control of your brain, you're not really,
Yeah.
even though it's you. But then you is a big amalgamation of a multiple variety of things which consist of your body, which is a whole different story.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. It's a whole different
just a
thing.
whole different story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That's what the advice I would impass upon someone
Yeah.
is just be consistent with these 3 things, because it does help. It does help, but it's just whether or not like because you know I've been in the situation where like I didn't know what I wanted to do with myself for like a couple months, and I wish I did these things just so like I could build these kind of habits. Because if I was consistent with these kind of habits, then I feel like where I am now would be slightly better. Like I would probably be like if I was like let's say I was like 50% right now. If I just had these habits earlier, I'd be like 55 or like 60%. And that's pretty good. Like that's pretty good improvement, I would say. And it's really not hard to be consistent with these. Like it's all about, you know, setting these small goals, which we will do a video on goals.
Yes, we will.
Future reference. But yeah, that's this like the things like I do mostly. I try to stay consistent with these things. So I hope for people that listen to this or watch this, try it and try to like just stick with it like for 5 minutes, because then you can just pump it up slowly because you realize how easy it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, on the other hand, when it comes to like planning out your life and your future, that I don't know.
That's a whole other thing,
Unfortunately,
dude. Yeah.
I don't have the answers.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what to do. Mainly because it's, I think, all a matter of discovery for yourself and discovery of like things you like to do.
Yeah.
And in a situation like now, especially during COVID, in which you feel like the world is standing still, in some places, I'd say, it's difficult.
Yeah.
It is difficult to try to be consistent with something you don't have a clue about. But I still, you know, preach the fundamental 3 in my head. These 3: reading,
The big
exercise,
3.
and meditation. and there probably are more. There probably are more, but these are the three that I use.
For sure. Yeah.
And well, there is like a fourth, which is just like read self-help, right?
Yeah.
Because self-help is like
Oh,
the gateway of.
But that's like 1A, you know. It's like
Yeah, it's like 1A. It's like specifically read self-help books, right?
Yeah.
Because I think it's a gateway to challenge your thinking and mold your mindset into something different, right?
Absolutely.
Because like it's obviously giving you the fundamentals of things you should be doing for yourself, and it is giving you orders if you want to take it that way. If you want to say there are recommendations of how to live your life, you can take it. Not like there's any research behind it or anything like that,
Not at all. I mean,
not at all. Not at all. Not like the interviews with like a couple hundred people who actually like changed their life.
Don't worry about that. It's like, it means nothing, really.
It means nothing, right? It means nothing. There's like I think there's like a book where it's like there's segments of like an interview with rich and successful people, and they all like talk about things, right?
Yeah.
And I think like how they live their lifestyle. And a lot of them have a lot of things in common. Like planning out your day, incrementing the day via like hours or minutes, staying motivated and like shit like that. And a lot of them have a lot of things in common, which you could find out if you read self-help. But yeah.
The only thing they have in common is that they're all fucking rich. They're all filthy rich.
True. Definitely making a lot more money than I am.
Yeah.
Because I'm making zero money.
Hey, let's go.
But yeah, because like I can't answer how to like decide what you want to do in university, because you just have to just take risks.
Yeah.
That's it. You just have to take risks to find out what you like to do. If you don't like it, change.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, I agree. Oh, wait, give me a sec. I'm gonna use the bathroom real quick. Quick bathroom break, dude. I've been drinking so much coffee recently. I've been pissing like a horse. Does coffee make you pee like a lot?
Yeah, it does. It's diuretic. Dude,
it's a fucking big old diuretic. But yeah, going back to what we were talking about before, not about pissing coffee, because my piss smells like coffee. Dude, it's a weird thing. I've been drinking so much.
Dude, you're being consistent with your coffee drinking.
I'm being consistent. I have so much caffeine in my system. No, but yeah, that's true. But yeah, those three things to be consistent with. I think those are solid things to be consistent with. Now, obviously, I think the list would probably change from person to person or like from group to group. But I think those three in particular are actually pretty good. Meditation, I think, is one that could be interchangeable, just because of like there are people. In my opinion, I think that meditation provides like the ability to kind of focus on one thing. And in terms of meditation, that focusing is on your breath. Now, that has a lot of translation into other parts where it's like, oh, you need to focus on one thing. You can get that done because, you meditate a lot, and focus on your breath, and then you can focus on that one thing in your life. But I think, personally, that's one thing that can be interchangeable. I think some people would just say, like, oh, just make sure you focus on one thing at a time, take it one day at a time or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, yeah. But those three things in particular, I think those are very good things to focus on or to be consistent with. But yeah, like you said, it is difficult to answer that question of like what you want to do with your life and if consistency will get you there. But I think now personally, I'm not talking from personal experience because I don't have much. I'm only 20 years old. But like personally speaking, I think when it comes to trying to figure things out, whether it's like for uni or for your life or for fucking school, I think it's especially good to be inconsistent. Just because of like the ability to go back and forth between certain things and figuring out what you want to do through that inconsistency, if you will. Mm-hmm. I think that's really important to trying to figure out what you want to do, right? So like, let's say you want to do one thing, but you're not really sure if it's going well for you, so you want to do another thing. I think it's important to be consistent in that first thing that you were trying to do, and if it doesn't work out for like, let's say the next 6 months, or maybe 4 months, then maybe you can move on to that next thing that might make you feel better about things that you might be wanting to do in the future. Now, obviously, I'm not prescribing the listeners a way to fucking figure out what they want to do. I'm just giving my opinion on it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I definitely think that being consistently inconsistent in that kind of situation where you don't know what to do, I think that's especially important there, just because of the kind of opportunities that would bring, and the possibilities as well. Just because, like I said, going from thing to thing, back and forth between certain things, I think that can yield some pretty interesting results for people who aren't entirely sure about what they want to do, and stuff like that. But what's it called? I guess if I were to make a list of things that I thought people should be consistent in or consistent on, right now the only things that come to mind is fitness, and reading. I think those are two very important things. And if not reading, because like Alex said, there are a lot of people who really, I guess, don't enjoy reading, or like who say they can't really read and stuff like that. Let's say you're on TikTok all the time or whatever. You can take
5-second attention span.
5 second attention span. You can take the extra step to kind of watch self-help stuff, or if not self-help things, self-help videos. You can watch kind of, how do you say, like videos that asks questions more than like give you answers, if you will. Like, let's say you watch a comedy show that kind of gives you what you want, whereas if you watch something that makes you ask questions, like even a Netflix series that makes you ask questions, I think that's healthy. Obviously, it's still a show, and then there are obviously some nuances between a show and like books that you read. That's for sure. But if you don't want to read, I guess, for the time, then you can watch things that are more open-ended, if you will. But those are the only two things that come to mind. I've tried meditation in the past, and it's like I can't. It's fucking hard. I tried 5 minutes, and 5 minutes was a fucking tough time to get through, just because there were moments, or not moments, but there were like some certain like meditation sessions that I would have, and I would just like open my eyes super quick, look at the timer, and close my eyes back up again, and I'll just be like, yeah, fucking round down. I didn't close my eyes. I didn't open my eyes at all. It's fine. I was meditating for sure. But yeah, like it's fucking hard, dude. I don't know how people do that shit at all.
It's definitely something that has to be practiced to be like utilized.
Yeah.
And I do agree with offering solutions to like instead of reading, but I recommend reading a lot. But if you lack the attention span, unfortunately,
Yeah.
which is the common scenario for a lot of people these days, mainly because of like the internet and technology in general, you could always invest your time in watching video essays. Like it's like there's like the 20, 30 minute, 40 minute, 50-minute videos on YouTube that are talking about a single subject, like neoliberalism, the rise of the gig economy. Like, bruh, like you can, instead of reading, you can watch that and maybe think about that if you're interested. Right? There's plenty of videos that are suited for your interests, suited for things you might be interested in. You just have to watch them. Now, whether or not you pay attention to that video and actually absorb the information that the video is trying to convey is strictly up to you. But it is an alternative for people that would prefer a more visual or a more audible kind of like type of like learning, I suppose, or a way to absorb information. But there's a variety of things, and it varies from person to person. But I still stress that people should read, because it's just something that just makes you more built different, to be honest.
Dude, mentally built different. You love to hear it.
Mentally built different. But yeah, it's I just can't stress it enough. And going back to like what you said about like being inconsistent, like it makes sense, right? Because like, how can you sort of be consistent when you don't know what you want to do?
Yeah.
Right. Which in my case, I would still argue the 3 fundamentals that Alex recommends. I
definitely think there are fundamental things that you should be consistent with. But yeah, go ahead.
Do those, but like if you want to get into computer science, then like add another fundamental, which is start coding or learn how to fucking code, right?
Yeah.
But like if you want to do something else, like I want to start my own business, then like start, brainstorming ideas. Start surrounding yourself with people that would help you make your dreams come true.
Yeah.
Right.
That's also important.
Yeah, exactly. Like depending on whatever goal you want, and even if you don't have a goal and you have no idea what you want to do, we bring it back again to the fundamentals of reading, because eventually you might read something. Once again, I recommend nonfiction because like it's just more practical.
Yes. I want to make a Witcher school, dude.
Not to dog on fiction, right? But I think like nonfiction helps you figure out things that you want, right? It gives you new perspectives and things like that. So it helps you find out maybe a future career that you wanted to do because you read about it. You're like, yo, this seems pretty interesting. Well, I might want to give this a go in university. And when you give it a go in university, you're like, oh, wow, I enjoy this, right? And like careers they're not the same as they used to be.
True.
Because like boomers are like, oh, get a job and you'll be in it for like 40 years. You're like, shut the fuck up, bro. It's like, just get one job and be good at it. Like that's not how shit works, man. Like you just can't get a single job in a certain field and just expect to stay in that field for like your entire life unless you're really fucking passionate for it. But I don't think that's the case anymore. It's like the cases of having a single lifetime career. You have multiple careers or multiple different job aspects throughout your life. And like you don't have to be like I'm turning 20 and I still don't know what the fuck I want to do. So don't worry. Like it's like that. Like I have to figure out what I want to do by the time I'm 18. Like no, your university degree does not correlate to what job you have to do. Granted, if you want to be a doctor or engineer or lawyer, you have to do those like degrees in university.
Yeah.
But let's say you do like a Bachelor of Arts majoring in human geography, for example. Not that that's me or anything.
Super specific, by the way. But okay.
Just because like, oh, I'm majoring in human geography, I have to be a human geographer, whatever that fucking means, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I have to do that. It's just like I have the background and the certification to do it, but now I have the world is my oyster, right? It's like I can do what I want to do, and I'm not like limited by that capacity of my degree. Like just because you have a major or like you have a Bachelor of History or some shit, right? Just doesn't mean you have to be a historian. There's wide varieties of fields you can go to, so you don't have to be like consistently a historian. You can do a variety of things, and it just depends on what other skills and facilities you have to offer to what career you want to do. And once again, like there's no point trying to like lock yourself into something so early because things change. And just like
I think like a question that usually pops into my head when like going through classes, the motion of like going to classes or online classes and doing assignments and whatnot. I think a question that pops into my head is that it's a very common question that's asked is like, when am I ever going to use this IRL? When I don't even know what I'm going to work as in the future. Is this even worth doing right now? So, and to an extent, I definitely think there is, there's obviously a reason why these questions are commonly asked. That reason, of course, being that Alex has a very interesting input. So it seems. What do you think? Why do you think these questions are so commonly asked?
Because you wonder, what the fuck am I going to use this for, right? It's like, oh, I'm learning about the theories of development. Modernization theory, developmental theory, post-developmental theory, alternative participatory development. Like, how the fuck is that applicable unless I want to be a developmental theorist, right? How is this fucking applicable? It's just theory after theory after theory after theory. I'm like, I'm going to be analyzing global challenges. The 2008 financial crisis is caused by the following three things. Like, how the fuck am I going to be using that like in a job application? It's like, so yes, I am quite familiar with modernization theory through 1960s to the 1970s. Yes, I am also quite familiar with the dependency theory within Latin America. Like the fucking guy hiring me is like, this is a cafe, bro. We don't
do that here, dude. We serve coffee. What the fuck are you on?
And like, I think my answer to this, right?
Yeah.
Is not that it's necessarily applicable, but it's more for the knowledge that you have as an individual. and then
Interesting.
seeing how it can correlate to your worldview. So, um, for example, if you're learning even just learning like, for example, like vectors in mathematics, for example, I did that, and I was just like,
No shot.
I will never be using this. I will never be a fucking air flight manager control whatever shit. Or I'll never be on a ship like, oh sir, we have something in the 44 vectors from here. Like, no, I will never be doing that. Right.
So there's an isosceles triangle to our right. It's
Sir,
gonna attack us.
we were detecting unauthorized polygons in our sector. So like, no, I'm never gonna be fucking doing
Authorized
anything like that, right? I will not be doing anything like that. But
Yeah.
it does build critical thinking.
True. Yeah.
Unfortunately, my mathematical critical thinking is zero. Fucking zero. But I did think quite a lot.
Yeah.
So I know fancy terms. Yeah.
He
I
knows
know all that
fancy
math
terms.
jargon. I know about math jargon. But yeah, it's not necessarily that you will, apply these kind of skills onto like a day-to-day basis. Because trust me, a lot of math you're not going to need if you're probably just going to need basic arithmetic. That's it in most cases, right? We have a fucking calculator at this point. But yeah. Remember doing long division? Fuck.
What? Long division? What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's like the 3 and then like the line and like 3.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have to like carry the div. For remainder, fucking nonsense, bro. Nonsense.
Absolutely nonsense.
But yes. It's, in most cases, a lot of things you learn in school, especially school and university, are really not applicable to what you want to do.
Yeah.
However, they do promote critical thinking and, being aware of the nature of things around you, whether it's the socioeconomic situation of certain places or like the current global capitalist system, and being aware of how that sort of, being abused by certain societies to influence power, all yada yada yada.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's you become aware of the world around you, and it sort of shapes your viewpoint and perspective, and you also just develop your critical thinking skills, like
Absolutely.
I mentioned like thrice. But yeah, like a lot of the times, a lot of the things you learn will not have any use. Like, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, and everyone fucking says this when they're saying like, "Oh, that's the most thing I remember from school," and it is, because they drill it in you in every single biology class. But I think some people will say, "No, it's not the mitochondria. It's gonna be some other part of the cell." I'm like, I don't fucking give a shit.
Dude, my science teacher, he put a gun to my head and he's like, "What's the powerhouse of the cell?" And I'm like, "It's the fucking mitochondria, dude. Please don't shoot me."
Mitochondria. But yeah, like, you obviously will remember, like, these dumb things, right? Like, why did school never teach me how to do taxes? Like, I don't know how to do taxes. Well, obviously, because you're probably not going to be living in that country. And even if you will, like, taxes are not that hard. But you still have to learn how to do taxes. But yeah, like, it also, like, oh, why didn't I not learn how to do this or do this or do this? Like, yeah, like, because school, not to dog on school. Because school, you need to go to school, kids. You need to go to school. But they teach you so much, like, things that aren't that useful unless you have a specific career in mind.
Yeah.
Right. Like, if I want to be a biologist, then like, yeah, biology will be useful. Like, I want to be a mathematician. Yeah, math would be good, I guess. But like, it's if you don't have a clue in your mind, like, I'm doing a Bachelor of Arts because I don't know what I want to do with myself for the next 3 years. I'm like, okay, then yeah, whatever you learned in high school may not be applicable, but you did get some sense of critical thinking, so use that.
Yeah.
And like, that's the best way I can reason the idea of having all that mind clutter, garbage jinx shoved into your head. Because like, you still use that to think about whatever assignment you're given to. Because like, if they're like, analyze this or evaluate this, then you still have to critically think about it using what you know.
Yeah.
And it's not transferable to real life in most cases, unless you want to continue in being in the academia or the academy. Or, I think it's the academia, not academy.
Macadamia for sure.
But yeah,
I love that nut.
It's I think it's still important, like, foundational knowledge or background knowledge for yourself, though.
100%.
Because like, eventually at one point you're gonna have to, because it makes you more aware of the world around you, so you have to critically think about the socioeconomic issues of my environment, right? And then you think about that, and then you use like your foundational knowledge from what you learn to like be aware.
Yeah.
But then there's also like the basic information of like the boiling point of water, like it's 100 degrees, and
Yeah.
then you just learn some basic things where it's like that you really encounter in a day-to-day life, or like just general history as well, because I
Yeah.
think that's something that should be valued a bit more, just being able to know the history of places, so
Yeah.
then it gives you a bigger value, or also the explanation of why some places are why they are, like sure, you're not going to apply the knowledge of like you can't really apply the knowledge of why like Burkina Faso, for example, is in its current state, but at least you know why it's in its current state, so then you have like that kind of knowledge, so you have that understanding of the world.
Yeah. And like
And
this isn't all to say that you shouldn't like education is not important, because like there are people who will like propose the argument of like, hey, I can learn all this stuff on YouTube. Why should I learn it from a teacher in school that I had to pay money for? YouTube's fucking free or whatever the fuck, yada yada yada. I think it's like you said, it's very important to learn that critical thinking skill. And like this isn't even in like, I'm not even talking about critical thinking for an assignment. Like, okay, use your critical thinking mind and fucking list reasons why this is like this, and this. No, I'm talking about like the experience of going through primary education, of schooling, high school, lower school, middle school. It kind of develops your mind into thinking a bit more about things, which is why people ask that question of when will I use this in real life? That's kind of like a turning point, if you will, of like our minds starting to think a little bit more about things. Because when you're younger, you're not going to ask that question. I mean, unless your brother tells it to you like when you're at home, like, hey, like you're not going to learn this in the future anyway. You should just stop giving a shit about school. But my brother knew that. I'm just saying, like, as an example. But when you're younger, you're not gonna think like, oh, dude, I'm not gonna use this in real life. No, you're not gonna think that. You're just gonna think, oh, my teacher wants me to do it, so I'm gonna fucking do it. Because you're a kid, you don't know any better. But once you start getting older, and once you start thinking about things a bit more, once you start developing that critical mind, then it's just like, oh, okay, like why am I doing this, and stuff like that. But then, like Alex said, once you start learning these things, as like a base form of knowledge, then you get to expound on that through your critical thinking. Like Alex said, okay, the boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius. But what happens when the water reaches a boiling point? Okay, it turns into steam. Okay, what can you do with steam? It kind of leads. It's a rolling stone effect, kind of. That education is important. We're not saying like, oh, dude, we're not gonna use any of this in real life. Don't fucking go to school. Don't get primary education. Even university education, college education, I still think that's important, but obviously there is a bit more of an argument there that can be had. Like, do you need to go? Maybe for a bit. Do you need to finish all 4 years? Maybe. Even then, like, as long as I think you have that base education and as long as you're able to think a bit more critical, I think, like, the argument can be made that you don't really need university education or college education, but even then, it's still important to try it out, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Definitely.
yeah.
And I think we can talk about the college life in another video as
In
well. Wow,
another
we've got so
video.
many videos lined up. Wow.
So many video guys. It's like we have a
Wow.
list or something. Here, let me pull it up.
What? No, never.
But yeah, so that's basically all the time we have for this episode. Do we have any parting words? Do you have any parting words for this episode?
Um,
Oh, you can like you can fucking
Re?
you can relist the 3 things to stay consistent on.
Alex's consistent fundamentals. Read a book. Just fucking read. Just read something. Please, for the love of God, read. Right?
Yeah.
Just read. Work out. And try meditating.
Yeah, and for my parting words, I think it's important to be inconsistent from time to time. And to add on to Alex's list, the 4th thing is your own thing. Add on to the list, remove what you need, to remove from the list, whenever. But at the same time, like it's really personalized. So just make your own consistency list, things that you would like to keep fundamental to your life, consistent that is. And of course, when you reach inconsistencies in your life, fucking don't think it's a bad thing. Well, is literally a bad thing, like a drug addiction, then fucking you might want to reevaluate that. Woo! But yeah, like that's it for this episode. We hope you guys enjoyed, and see ya.
See you in the next one.